So finally, we're doing the full KYB Excel-G review. If you've been following, you'll know that there was an issue with one of the dampers. So long story short on that, KYB exchanged the damper. That was sorted out in like 2 or 3 days. If you want the full story, there's a link to the installation issue in the video description. Coming on to the Excel-G build quality. So out of the box, what do they look like? I'd say nothing out of the ordinary. Compared to the B8 that were on the car, they're less beefy. Definitely seems an overall a cheaper design. They do use a slightly different system on the rear dampers to mount, to connect it to the car, which is, I think, a bit cheaper than the way Bilstein do it. I prefer the Bilstein method, but overall I'd say it's average. The installation of the KYB Excel-G, I'd say, is below average, at least below what it was with the Bilstein B8, which was on the car previously. So why do I say that? Okay, on the front dampers, where they go into the knuckle, we're talking about a Ford Focus Mark 1 for this review. There is a link in the video description to a full article on this. Going back to the front dampers, when you fit them, they slide into the knuckle. It's a McPherson strut on the front, and there is like a metal tab that goes on the inside of the dampers that goes into the knuckle. With the Bilstein, you can basically just line the bolt up with the bracket that comes down, and the alignment is done. In my experience, it's very good. You don't need to do anything, just line it up with a hole and you're golden. However, with the kayaba, that metal tab that goes on the inside of the knuckle, you've got massive amount of adjustment there. And basically, when you fit the kayaba, I think you're going to need to get an alignment to get the damper sitting where it should be, because you don't have that metal tab to guide you like you do with a Bilstein. And then on the rear, again, coming back to the installation issue, the way they do it with that metal clip compared to the way Bilstein do it by having a thicker shaft, the Bilstein is a much more foolproof, well below average, in my opinion, of the KYB Excel-G. They can be a difficult installation. Comfort, low speed. Well, the KYB Excel-G is a standard replacement damper, so they're going to be softer than the B8. Comparing them to original equipment dampers, I would say they're probably at the softer end of average. Low speed bumps around town, basically potholes, they deal with them fantastically, as you would expect from a soft damper. So full marks there, very good. Then we come on to comfort at high speed. So we're talking about motorways. Where I am, the roads I drive on in northern Greece, the motorways have a lot of undulations in them, and that can feel like there is a lot of movement in the suspension as the car is going over them. So that can be a little bit uncomfortable, and even more uncomfortable than a set of sports dampers, because the suspension is not moving so much. So in that respect, I'd say the KYB are probably average to below average on the high speed bump absorption over the big undulations. For potholes and what have you, they're fantastic. Then we're on to braking and acceleration. For a stock replacement damper, I think they're okay, but again, I think they're on the softer end of average. Then we come on to high speed direction changes. This is always going to be a problem for a standard replacement damper, I think. It's just a lot of momentum to control, while at the same time having a damper that's comfortable over bumps. So comparing the KYB to a stock replacement damper, I'd say again that they're average. They don't exceed my expectations, and they're not below my expectations either. Steering feel, honestly, there's nothing in it. Then we come on to cornering balance. I would say that the Excel-G is, again, I wouldn't want the damper to be any softer, let me say that. But comparing it to a stock replacement damper, I would say that they are average. Cornering bumps, so when there is force going through the suspension, how do the dampers cope with mid-corner bumps? I'd say they're fantastic, really good. Once the suspension is loaded up, if there's any bumps in the corner, the Excel-G just floats over it, you don't even notice them. And then we come on to the price. Well, I've been saying that the Excel-G is average. and the price is about the same as Sachs and Bilstein, which I think are probably the direct competitors. So for the price, I'd say they're good. They are what you would expect. So to wrap it up, it's probably obvious by now, but I'd say basically the KYB Excel-G are an average damper versus the KYB Excel-G is the Bilstein B8 a good buy. For the massive leap forward in performance that you get, I'd say the B8 is the better deal. If I was determined to fit a standard replacement damper to this car with the H&R springs, would I go with the Excel-G again? And the answer is no. If you fitted H&R lowering springs or I-back lowering springs, you probably want a bit more performance as well. I'd go for the Sachs or the B4. So that's the video, guys. Thank you for making this far. Again, if you're a subscriber already, thank you for subscribing. It's appreciated. If you're not a subscriber and you like the video, please subscribe. Look after yourself, and I'll see you again next time.